Okay, we'd like to call to order the Niskayuna Planning Board and Zoning Commission July 14th, 2025 meeting. Ms. Bergami, could you please call the roll?
Mr. Laflamme. Ms. Strain.
Here.
Mr. Khan.
Here.
Ms. Belowski.
Here.
Ms. Gomes.
Here.
Ms. Gold.
Present.
Mr. Bill and Calhoun.
Here.
Chairman Arpino.
Here. Next up are the approval of the June 9th, 2025 minutes. Please get a motion.
I'll move. I'll second.
Okay, moved by Ms. Belowski, and I believe Ms. Gomes got, or was it Ms. Gold?
It doesn't matter.
Okay, we'll go with Ms. Gold as a second. Any notations or corrections? I had none. So all in favor of the June 9th, 2025 minutes, state by saying aye. Any
Aye.
opposed? Okay, June 9th, 2025 minutes are approved. Next up is public hearings. We have no public hearings, so we'll move directly to privilege of the floor. Privilege of the floor is now open to any resident of Niskayuna wishing to speak on any planning or zoning matters. Please approach the podium and state your name and address for the record. Okay, looks like no one present is here for privilege of the floor. Laura, did we have any correspondence to the town?
No, I didn't get any correspondence for this meeting.
Okay, and do you know if there's anyone online wishing to speak at privilege of the floor?
Nope, just Clark and I.
Okay. See. So, looking as there is no one here for privilege of the floor, we will close privilege of the floor. We have no unfinished business, so we'll move right down to new business. First up is Resolution 2025-17, Niskayuna Fire Department Number 1, a resolution for a new shed. Now therefore be it resolved that this Planning Board and Zoning Commission finds that the site plan application referenced above meets the requirements of the zoning code and previous site plan approvals, and therefore hereby approves this site plan with the following conditions. 1, design. Prior to issuance of a building permit, the applicant shall supply shed design information and pictorial images for review and approval by the Architectural Review Board. We do not have a project lead, so I'll ask for a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Khan and second by Ms. Belowski. Any discussion on the shed? The quick recap is we've taken a look at this before, went to the ZBA, came back with approval from the ZBA. Be housing some equipment that they need,
No blowers.
snow blowers, lawn maintenance, non-electrified. Yeah. Off from public view. Pretty straightforward. Okay. All right, there's no further discussion. Ms. Bergami, could you please call the roll?
Mr. Laflamme.
Aye.
Ms. Strain.
Aye.
Mr. Khan.
Aye.
Ms. Belowski.
Aye.
Ms. Gomes.
Aye.
Ms. Gold.
Aye.
Chairman Arpino.
Aye. Resolution passes. Next up is Resolution 2025-18, Matthews Kia, resolution for approval of a lot line adjustment at 33 and 25 South Fagan Ave. Project lead is Mr. Laflamme. Now therefore be it hereby resolved that the Planning Board and Zoning Commission does hereby grant final lot line adjustment approval for 33 and 25 South Fagan Ave as shown on the aforementioned one-page survey drawing with the following conditions. 1, prior to the recording the plat, the final lot line adjustment map and recording documents, including the associated deeds and easements, shall be sent to the Planning Department for their review with approval by the town attorney. Any changes, additions, or deletions requested shall be addressed to the satisfaction of the Planning Department before printing the Mylars. 2, the final map shall label and confirm 80 feet of frontage on South Fagan Ave, measured at the minimum building setback line for 33 South Fagan Ave. May I get a motion?
I move to approve.
Okay, moved by Mr. Laflamme,
Second.
a second by Mr. Khan. Okay. Open for discussion.
Application is separate, but in cooperation with another application. Just step back after that, it's still on the line. This being CH and also a portion of one of the two lots being resident R2. The stricter of the two rules has an 80-foot linear frontage requirement, which this lot line will satisfy. And there's been a lot of discussion around this in community feedback, and feel pretty good about the use of the land going forward with this new configuration.
Okay. I'll just add to that, that on July 9th, the CAC did meet and voted on this. It was a 5-0 vote with 1 abstention on a negative declaration for the seeker of the lot line adjustment. So they also too felt it was appropriate for what was being proposed.
And I will note that the applicant has revised the application such that the area variance that had been needed for 33 South Fagan is no longer required. It is now going to be a compliant lot. I am not really happy about seeing the expansion towards the residential properties. But the fact is that the lot that they are requesting to tear down a house on is in the CH zone. And that kind of leaves me in a position where I feel it's the proper thing to do to support this. Had they left it with 33 being impinged upon and reduced so drastically in the frontage that they would need a variance, I would vote against this. But they have worked to overcome major concerns I had. I will say that following this, I think we should look at rezoning the rest of the residential area to residential instead of CH. I think we need to clean that up so we don't have to entertain future requests that really undermine the neighborhood.
Okay, thank you. All right. If there's no further discussion, Ms. Bergami, could you please call the roll?
Mr. Laflamme?
Aye.
Ms. Strain? Mr. Khan?
Aye.
Ms. Belowski?
Aye.
Ms. Gomes?
Aye.
Ms. Gold?
I
Chairman Darpino?
Aye, resolution passes. Okay, next up is Resolution 2025-19, Matthews Kia, a resolution to make a recommendation to the town board on a special use permit to combine 25 and 17 South Fagan Ave properties with the existing Kia automobile lot at 3900 State Street. Includes removing one single-family dwelling and extending the automotive sales lot onto South Fagan Ave. Project lead is Mr. Laflamme. So just to walk everyone through the proceedings of what we're going to do here, I will read the resolution and the conditions that are here. Typically, we go through the findings and we also read those and discuss those at each interval as we go through that. So let's start with the resolution first.
Just to clarify, are we going to nod approval or disapproval on each item and then discuss?
We will discuss each of the findings, and if modifications need to be made, we'll vote on them actively as we go through. And then that will be the document that'll go with the resolution.
Excellent. Thanks for.
Now therefore, be it hereby resolved that this Planning Board and Zoning Commission hereby recommends that the town board grant a special use permit to combine 17 and 25 South Fagan Ave properties with the existing Kia automobile lot at 3900 State Street. Remove one single-family home and extend the automobile sales lot onto South Fagan Ave. As shown in the aforementioned drawings, subject to the conditions below and final site plan approval by the Planning Board. The findings for this recommendation by the Planning Board are attached to this resolution. Condition 1, the lot line adjustment setting the boundaries for 25 South Fagan Ave must be completed and recorded prior to the issuance of any building permits. The minimum width of 33 South Fagan Ave at the front yard setback line must be 80 feet. Number 2, there shall be no expansion of the existing PA system into the area of 17 and 25 South Fagan Ave. And the applicant shall endeavor to abandon the existing PA system and switch to more modern technology to limit the noise impacts of car sales use. Number 3, the applicant will work with the tree council to identify trees that must be saved on the property and to ensure the buffers and landscaping will adequately screen any additional lighting nuisance created by the expansion of the car sales use. 4, the applicant shall be responsible for the installation of a public sidewalk from the southern edge of 33 South Fagan Ave to the intersection with State Street, as shown in the preliminary plans. Number 5, stormwater shall be looked at closely during site plan review because of the large amounts of impervious surface created by this use. Best available rainstorm data shall be used for stormwater modeling to ensure short duration, high intensity rainstorms will not adversely impact neighboring residential properties. And 6, lighting shall be minimal and directed away from the residential properties and open sky. May I get a motion?
I move to approve.
Okay, moved by Mr. Laflamme
Second.
and second by Mr. Khan. Okay. We will move on to the findings. So, all right, before we start there, why don't we talk about, is there any discussion points on the conditions that are here?
No, not as they're listed, I can see. There was discussion around shielding some existing trash, reserved areas for trash and snow removal. What's that?
We could put the shielding of the dumpster and stuff in as a,
Yeah, I don't know if it's well, based on your recommendation. There was just these were things that were discussed. A little bit of feedback from the community. We don't get into with these conditions. We don't necessarily get into how this applicant has adjusted their application to reflect improvements in areas where the residents had called out for areas of issue that they may personally experience. That's in there, but these 6 items are complete and clear as discussed in prior meetings.
I did notice 2 typos that I will fix.
Yeah.
When you were reading screening to screen and
Mhm.
insure, I think it's supposed to be an E.
Yeah.
I'll just fix those.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, the adequate and adequately, right?
Oh, is there another one?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Sorry, condition number 3,
3?
second line at the end. Adequate. You got to put in a B or call it adequately.
Yep.
One procedural question. This is a recommendation to the town board.
Yeah.
Will we be seeing a detailed site plan provided that
Provided that the special use permit.
if the special use permit were granted by the town board, we will be seeing a detailed site plan where we can more clearly and directly address the stormwater issues concerning number 5?
Correct.
Okay. My only, just to lodge the data point, right? I think in the recent past, we've actually given a certain percentile of rainfall recommendation, not just best available, right? That,
Clark knows that term. He could chime in. We
Okay.
should probably use the same term. I
Hmm.
wasn't exactly sure what it was because he was the one that worked so much with Postinelli and the
so if I'm confident that if town board were to grant this special use, that will, make sure that we're very rigorous and stringent on the stormwater based on what we've done in the past. And so I'm okay with the condition remaining it is on this resolution, but I did want to at least note that item.
Yeah, so Devin,
Understood.
here's it. The best available data, it's not the one that is required under the SWIP. We've been using like Cornell and
Mhm.
another one. They're like higher
Right. And I think we've been using also the 95th percentile
Mhm.
of
Yeah.
rainfall.
for
Yep.
challenged areas.
Right. And just one, background note, right?
Mhm.
Previous applications attempting to do something similar, we had drawn attention to what the storm management was going to be, right? There was different concepts of underground reservoirs, all these other kind of things that were being used. So we just want to make sure we'll get that clear.
Yep.
But I think
absolutely.
that's best for a site plan review when, if and when that comes about.
Understood.
Okay, a quick procedural question. Could you just state your name? for the-
Sure. Devin Dickinson with CHA.
Thank you. And Mr. Dickinson, have you had a chance to review the resolution? Are you good with the 6 conditions?
I am, yes.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. Okay.
Thank you.
To address Mr. Laflamme's comment about the the trash and the dumpster, I think if we get to the site plan approval process, I don't see the real reason to put this as a condition right now, but that's
agree.
definitely something that we've talked about at least a couple times, and we've looked at some of the plans. So I think that would be an appropriate time and place to look at it then.
Yep, absolutely. Agreed.
Okay, great.
I've got one question regarding the PA system. Would it be appropriate for us to put an end date for the current PA system?
Can we actually,
That's why I'm asking a question. I don't know if we can or not.
So the answer is I don't know.
either.
My sense is that based on, like, there's going to be factors that the owner is going to care based on what the lifespan, remaining lifespan of it is, that kind of thing. So if it's old and it's not really how they do business in other places, it may not be a big issue, but I think it may also depend on what the cost of the other stuff is to bring the property up to speed, what their willingness is to phase that out by a certain date.
Because Mr. Salvani said that they are trying to switch over to text messages. So
I was going to say, I mean, my own personal experience is that it's much less PA and much more direct text to
Mhm.
consumer now.
but we did hear directly from residents that the PA was problematic.
Well, we heard it when we were there.
Oh, we did?
We did. It went off after we were told it wasn't working anymore. It went off.
They may be using it within the garage for folks that aren't able to use their phone there as easily, so but I remember being there and I heard it within the service area. Didn't hear it broadcasted, at least I didn't
But
think
it was loud.
but it was loud enough for us to hear it. Yeah.
So I would really like to see it gone sooner rather than later.
Okay,
Is it something we could address at site plan if it does come back to us?
so
Yes, so I guess here's what I would say. I can at least get you an answer to let you know if you can do it. And then
Okay.
it'll be your option.
and the thing is, I think the town board still has a couple months. And so if we just did a memo after that said you can make this condition stronger, these are recommendations.
Yes.
And I think
Okay.
that they would be very interested in that. So potentially they can make the condition stronger if we can figure out an answer to your question.
Yeah, it was rather jarring and it does go to quality of life.
Okay.
Yep.
All right, so the next step is we're going to go through the planning board findings, and we'll go through each one of these, and then we'll open it up to discussion for each one. So in consideration of a recommendation of the town board for a special use permit to combine 17 and 25 South Fagan Ave properties with the existing Kia automobile lot at 3900 State Street, remove one single-family house and extend the automobile sales lot onto South Fagan Ave, proposed by Vincent Salvini, agent for Rob Matthews of State Street Quad K LLC, owner of the property. The planning board finds the following in relation to section 220-44, review of the site plan application, and section 220-60, special use permit. Condition 1, full conformance of the site plan with regulations of Articles 5 and 6 and all other provisions of this chapter. Okay. The proposal was in conformance with Articles 5 and 6 of the zoning code. Okay.
Mhm.
All right. Number 2, adequacy of the arrangement of vehicular traffic, access, and circulation, including intersection, road widths, channelization structures, and traffic controls. Consideration will also be given to the project's impact on the overall circulation system as it relates to adjacent uses. The entrance on South Fagan Ave is designed and marked with signage for a safety one-way 18-wheel truck drop off of vehicles. Delivery trucks will enter the parking lot from South Fagan Ave and exit onto the lot onto State Street. The relocation of the singular curb on South Fagan Ave is less impactful to neighbors and minimizes traffic going to State Street because the reconditioning lot could now access the main lot via South Fagan.
Chairman, should we comment a little on this, or is it?
Yes, this is,
Yeah.
after I read these, then we discuss each one. If they need to be amended, we'll take an informal poll vote like we do on the minutes.
So I would, as a lead, I would recommend that it doesn't need to be amended. However, I would note to the applicant that signage indicating this flow will be expected in the site plan, when we get to that point, if we get to that point. And that at least I'm on this board, and I think many of us are expecting to see that there would be some additional signing. Minimal.
Absolutely.
Yeah, but just something that's clear on State Street, from Fagan, one direction.
Yep. Absolutely. Agreed.
Okay.
I would probably add a sentence in for that.
Do we need to do it here, or is it really only going to be relevant if we get to the point where the town approves the special use?
So if it comes back for site plan approval, won't signage be part of the whole packet that we'd have to see anyways? Because they do have, it looks like, at least in the renderings, proposed facade signs. You may have some wayfinding signage. There's obviously a number of signs that they can have permissible, and then there might be some waivers or other variances you may be requesting at that time.
Yeah, we have some preliminary signage work being done by a sub-consultant, so it'll come in the near
Okay.
future.
Works for me.
Okay.
Okay with that? Okay. All right. Number 3, the adequacy and arrangement of pedestrian traffic access and circulation, including but not solely limited to separation of pedestrian from vehicular traffic, walkway structures, control of intersections with vehicular traffic, and overall pedestrian convenience. This proposal has a sidewalk proposed out front of the applicant property, which extends to the intersection with the sidewalk at State Street. The proposed sidewalk and street trees are an improvement to the existing corridor. Think we all concur?
We do, and the site plan will have that detail. These are just the expectation.
Okay. Number 4, the location, arrangement, and setting of off-street parking and loading areas. The location, arrangement, and setting of off-street parking is code compliant, and the designated offloading area for the vehicle deliveries should improve overall site safety. Although not ideal, 2 rows of double deep parking spaces are used for vehicle storage to maximize the number of parking spaces near the more commercial State Street end of the site. This frees up land near 33 South Fagan for the additional landscape screening and buffering. The balance of being able to keep additional land for landscape screening and buffering instead of parking alleviates the less ideal situation of having 2 rows of double deep parking spaces on site.
I will note that the double lane parking is not unusual at dealerships.
Okay.
Pretty common, actually.
Good. Number 5, the location, arrangement, size, and design of buildings, lightings, and signs. Some additional information about the lighting and signs need to be provided to the planning board for the site plan approval, but it's the board's understanding that lighting will be minimal and security and safety based. All light fixtures will be updated to utilize LED bulbs with directional illumination to minimize the impact on neighboring properties. The planning board will work with the applicant to establish directional signage to access the site along South Fagan Ave.
Yeah, the only comment I'd have, it kind of it might imply it, but there are some existing light fixtures that might not comply with how this is written. The minimal and directional and for safety, it's like there are some old lights that are up on the roofs that I believe they're going to be replaced with this new design. So my only point is let's make sure they're consistent with how this reads if they're not replaced.
I would have to confirm that. That was my understanding, is that they're going to replace some of those lights. I think some of them have been transitioned to LED. But I would have to confirm exactly which site lights. Okay.
But I think the LED is only half of the equation, right? It's also
How they flood out. Yeah.
Okay. Number 6, adequacy, type, and arrangement of trees, shrubs, and other landscaping constituting a visual and or a noise deterring buffer between these and adjacent or adjoining properties. A significant amount of landscape buffering has been included in the site plan. The planning board will continue to work with the tree council and the applicant to increase and optimize the buffering, especially for the homes on South Fagan Ave that face or abut the dealership and the homes on South Amherst Ave with backyards contiguous to the new parking area. They noted there was still an overall loss of green space, but the buffering and streetscape help mitigate impacts to the neighborhood. The addition of street trees and buffering of the garbage dumpster area is an improvement to the site. Okay, I would agree with that. Number 7, in the case of multifamily complexes, the adequacy of usable open space for controlled and informal recreation. It was deemed not applicable. Number 8, The adequacy of provisions for the disposal of stormwater, sanitary waste, water supply for both fire protection and general consumption, solid waste disposal, and snow removal storage areas. Snow removal will need to be delineated during the final site plan review. No significant changes to sanitary sewer, water supply, fire protection, or solid waste disposal have been proposed. Stormwater is an important consideration and will need to be examined more closely during the final site plan review. A TDE will be required in the final site plan review.
Sounds good.
Number 9, the adequacy of structures, roadways, and landscaping in areas with moderate to high susceptibility to flooding and ponding and/or erosion. The engineering department and TDE will be reviewing the stormwater management plan. This concern should be examined more closely in final site plan review. Agree? Okay, number 10, protection of adjacent properties against noise, glare, unsightliness, or other objectionable features. The planning board recognizes the potential impacts of constructing an automotive sales parking lot adjacent to single-family homes, and therefore will require a strong visual barrier on homes on South Amherst Ave and South Fagan Ave. To protect the residential nature of the neighborhood and to protect the adjacent property values. These concerns should be examined more closely in final site plan review. There would be no extension to the public address PA speaker system to the proposed parking lot, and the planning board will work with the applicant to reduce its use in favor of newer technology options such as direct communications via mobile phone. The planning board feels that the current proposal, compared to prior proposals, with the proposed landscaping, screening, buffering, sidewalks, street trees, etc., sets forth a decent plan to blend the existing and growing commercial neighborhood with the adjacent residential neighborhoods.
Yeah, but I would just add that there, with this revised application, there's even more of an attempt to maintain some mature growth that will help that buffering and maintain that duality of the CH neighborhood.
Can I just ask, I'm not sure if that's what you just said. I was gonna ask the question if there's a requirement for much more mature trees to create an immediate buffer, or can they put any trees and they'll essentially won't have a buffer until they are larger?
They're proposing new trees in the diagram, but there's existing trees that they have to figure out how healthy they are and such. There are areas where it's more dense, and then there are areas adjacent to South Amherst that are not. It's like just a fence. So I know it was discussed that there'd be plantings.
But are there any stipulations on what, like, if they're mature trees already, like just larger trees to create that immediate buffer?
One in particular, the spruce, is to remain at this juncture based on the known health of the tree. But there are a couple other larger ones, but they're not straight, still yet to be determined, I think, on health.
Can they include them in landscaping or?
I think to answer the question, a lot of the new landscaping that'll be proposed will not be larger mature trees. It's sometimes difficult to find them, transplant, get them into certain areas. So I think the types of vegetation will be identified a little bit more detail when we get to that point. And then when we see certain pockets of the site, we could question what the growth rates are and things like that. But that might be a little bit more helpful information wise. So they say, yeah, we're going to plant something that's 8 foot high, but we think within 2 to 3 years, they're going to reach 15 feet. Then we'll have an idea of what that maturity level is.
Yeah, we haven't had that detailed discussion yet. But that's the intent, understory and color growth.
Number 11, retention of existing trees for protection and control of soil erosion, drainage, and natural beauty. The planning board's expectation is for the large Norway spruce to remain, as well as several trees along the backyard lot lines with South Amherst Ave. Neighbors and the existing trees in front of 33 South Fagan Ave, the tree council can work with the applicant to identify if any more trees can be retained and to create a new planting plan. This concern should be examined more closely in site plan review.
So just to kind of piggyback on what Stewie said, the language, can you zoom back? Sorry, that's okay. Sorry, no. The planning board's expectations, so just in terms of timing and sequencing, because I know we've seen this happen with other cases where by the time the discussion happens, trees have been removed. Is this expectation sufficient to protect those existing mature trees? I mean, in other words, okay.
They cannot remove the trees. And
But one thing we've talked about is that our code actually says that the planning board needs to collect a value of that tree prior to issuing site plan approval, because we've had plans where the trees are supposed to be remaining, and then, I mean, fairly often they get taken down.
That's why I'm
And the
asking.
fine is not enough. So I think the way that the planning board can get around that is to get a value of that tree up front, and it should be, in the thousands of dollars at least. And then that would be more of a disincentive for them to not be following the plans.
And that valuation would come at site plan review post special use.
Right.
Because nothing can happen now. And
Right.
good question. We may want to consider some addition, like maybe it's just through the value, or maybe we require certain barriers to be put around that spruce during the construction.
Yeah, which we have done too. But I think our code actually says the planning board needs to set the value. And we've had enough transgressions that I think we really should do that.
Oh, yeah.
Number 12, in the case of multifamily complexes, average density developments, planned unit developments, and commercial developments, excessive similarity and/or excessive dissimilarity in appropriateness to any other structures existing or for which a permit has been issued, or to any other structure included in the permit application. This was deemed to be not applicable. Okay. Moving on to section 2020-60 for a special use permit under general character. The current general character of the project site area is that of a transition zone between a well-established traditional single-family neighborhood and a commercial business along State Street within the commercial highway CH zoning district. There is a large existing automobile sales dealership and a neighborhood of approximately 10 legally pre-existing, non-conforming, generally well-maintained homes. Height and use of land. There is no significant height to the land or to the parking structures. The use is complementary to the highway commercial corridor, but yet it requires the demolition of a single-family home, which is not preferable. However, the use of the land for parking is a use believed to be a good transitional use for the land between residential and commercial properties.
So the only thing I'm going to pop in here is that the CAC came out pretty strongly against a parking lot encroaching into a residential neighborhood. And I think you can still have a positive recommendation, but call out the negatives of the plan, make precedent clearer in the future. So if you guys, and the CAC recommendation came after writing this, but if you do feel like there was some things in there that you would want to incorporate and just be a little stricter about the use of land, I definitely think you can do that if you so feel inclined.
I am.
Yeah. I mean, they talked about
I
runoff.
don't think it's a great transition, really.
To special use being a parking lot. Is that what you're saying? It's not a good transition to make it a park.
This says it's a good transition to the residential, and I don't agree. I think the overall package makes it, with adequate screening, it makes it acceptable, but it's not desirable.
Not a preference to tear down home parking lots. However, to strike a balance with the use being, a mixture of residential and commercial, and, to understand some of the pressures that the Matthews have had to maintain a dealership in our town. And I will add the amount of consideration, feedback from this board, feedback from the community on ways that it could work if these things were changed. Just makes it a little bit more palatable for that transition to me.
I agree. I think our job is to try to find the balance. And while I agree that, it would not be our first choice, we have to look at the fact that we are a community with very limited commercial opportunity. This is a CH zone. I think the addition of the sidewalk is a significant improvement to the neighborhood, and the barrier and additional green, as well as where this all started, which is the significant safety issue of unloading cars on State Street.
Yeah.
So I think, to your point, when you take it as a whole, I think in this case, it makes sense for the direction that it's going.
Yeah, and so I think, Laura, how I interpreted your sentence, your statement, and I think what everyone said in response to that backs it up. I think we just need, in the context of this finding, to actually detail, not use the word believed, but actually, if we're going to use it, detail believe for these reasons, A, B, C, D, E, like we've articulated here. That way it goes against any general precedent setting.
Yeah, as
And
a
it's
balance.
very specific to this property,
Mhm.
right? The balance being one of those line items.
Right, like removal of a single family home to expand a parking lot into residential neighborhood is not a
Right.
good thing.
Right.
It's being balanced by these other things.
That's right. But I think we need to be explicit about what those things are.
Right, just so that there's not a blanket statement
Yep.
that, okay, now we're allowing single family homes to go down for a parking lot.
And I think one of the biggest pluses of this application is that it gets the trailers and the unloading off of the State Street, off of Fagan and onto the lot where it's not affecting traffic and the safety of others. That would be the balancing factor for me.
Which I think we were advised that that level of detail might not be included in the write-up, but it is certainly as part of our dialogue and our decision-making process.
Well, I think
Right.
we maybe should be explicit about it because I will tell you, I'm supporting this, but I don't like it.
Yeah. What was the advice about not being?
Well, it's just that, if someone's breaking the law by dropping off the truck, they're breaking the law.
Okay.
we're
Okay.
just-
You mean that item?
Yeah, that one item.
Yeah. I'm actually not a. I think whatever specifies our
Right.
belief that this is a good transition based on this property and this application and this recommendation to the town board. I just think we need to be clear about it. That's the recommendation. I'm just.
That it takes into consideration the specific conditions of this particular applicant
Yes.
and use of land.
And we just need to be explicit about it.
So how about I propose that the last sentence is modified so that at least it removes some of the words and replace them. So however, the use of the land for parking is an acceptable transitional use of the land between residential and commercial properties. However, we're aware that the loss of a single family home in order to achieve the goals of this specific application in conjunction with the other site improvements lead to the reasoning of why this application would move forward.
Yeah, or we can leave it just saying, just like you said, Chairman DiArpino, except we can just say that, based on other specific benefits provided by this application.
Yeah.
So something that just localizes it to this application.
Right.
I think more explicit is better.
I mean, we've already talked about
I
the
think
loss
this
of the
is
family
kind of
home.
Unique, I
right?
hope it is. I don't want to set a precedent where we encourage people to think taking down a house is a good option.
I mean, do we want to get into the geography of the land, the hill crest, the specific risks? Or is it enough to suffice to say that we do not want to see houses torn down in exchange for parking lots? But in this prescriptive application for this dealership, this particular dealership, we are.
Yeah.
I mean, is that good enough, or do we want to really itemize all the things we've talked about? And you're, just asking the group as a whole, do we need to do that?
I think the improvement to public safety has to be in there somehow.
All right, I like,
If you're trying to distinguish precedent in that this case is unique, right? The zoning board looks at area variances and use variances all the time. And they have to parse out whether this particular property has some factor in it that's unique versus if you say yes to this one, what's the difference between 5 years from now, them just saying, oh, 33 South Fagan Ave doesn't work as a house anymore. We're just going to take that one down too. So you do, I think, need particulars of why these two lots work, but the rest of them, why these two lots are unique and could be okay potentially with combining into, but why, you know, they're a little different or there was something that sets them apart.
One of those things is that this dealership's use does not currently facilitate the ability to loop traffic through its existing square footage, right? I mean, it just can't do that with current length of semis and such. This special use with the use of the land adjacent, which requires removing a home, enables that flow, right? So that's very specific to this property, let alone its use.
I mean, procedurally, I would trust the planning board to be able to the planning department rather, to be able to make a few explicit points and add it to this finding with that goal of just being as specific as possible and as unique.
Okay.
Rather than us just trying to wordsmith it there. I think just at least from the minutes and recording of the meeting, we've got enough of the points that have been genuinely discussed.
Yeah, and then we can circulate before we give it to the town board.
Is
Are-
there-
Are we in general agreement with Mr. Khan's statement that we would empower the planning department to build on
Yep.
these?
Yeah, but the goal of just being more specific
Correct.
about.
I just want to add to that we went through the exercise at Chairman Darpino's request of looking at the surrounding areas and
Oh, yeah, we
how,
can add
right? And so I think it's that provides a lot of context when we're detailing why in this particular case it makes sense to approve.
I just had one, in order to give the, I guess, the statement some parameters, can we just kind of say like a risk benefit analysis and that be the assumption of why this shouldn't be set as precedent? And obviously the benefit should outweigh the risk. Just to kind of, because instead of having random statements, it's almost creating some type of parameters.
Yeah, it's a draft, so the planning department will fine tune this as we go through. Okay.
Clark raised his hand.
Oh, go ahead, Mr. Henry.
We can't hear. Are you talking, Clark? Oh, it's weird. We can't hear you. Yeah, he's not muted and I can see him talking, but you want to sign off and then back on again, Clark? Just in case? Oh, that's okay. Okay.
All right. Okay, next up is building or structures. The project proposes to demolish a neglected and unoccupied legally pre-existing non-conforming single-family house at 17 South Fagan Ave. It currently abuts the code-conforming automobile sales use at 3900 State Street. The project also includes the modernization, expansion, and overall refreshing of the automobile sales building, including the expansion of the vehicle storage parking lot onto 17 South Fagan Ave and a vacant lot at 25 South Fagan Ave. The project is a redesigned and reduced version of a project that was proposed in 2023 to demolish homes at 17 and 33 South Fagan Ave and extend the aforementioned parking lot onto 17, 25, and 33 South Fagan Ave.
Laura, it's just a grammar thing. I think it should be modernization, expansion, and overall refresh of the automobile sales building, just to be
Yeah, no
consistent.
problem.
Next up, there are no significant buildings or structures associated with this proposal. The provisions of open space and treatment of grounds. The buffered green areas adjacent to the residences are critical transition areas from commercial to residential. The sidewalk and street trees are important treatments to mitigate the impacts of this proposal to the community. General fitness of the structure or use to its proposed location. The planning board finds this proposal helps sustain small-scale commercial business on State Street corridor. It also feels the 20 13 comprehensive plan is neutral on future development in the Stanford Heights neighborhoods.
That should just be a period, right?
Provision for automobile parking or storage. The provision for automobile parking and storage is compliant with the code. Street capacity and use. The street has no known capacity concerns. Current offloading of inventory vehicles is problematic to surrounding residential homes, as sometimes vehicles are offloaded in the turn lane of the street on which the business sits. On-site loading area should be it should be changed to an on-site loading area should help with this.
Yeah, that
The
should be an
the
A.
sidewalk is a benefit to the street. Okay, I think we all agree with that. Public health and convenience. The planning board finds that it is an important component to this proposal to ensure there is no light pollution from the parking lot onto the adjacent residential homes. This will need to be addressed during final site plan review. Preservation of general character of the neighborhood. On one hand, the development is disharmonious with the residential character parts of South Fagan Ave. At the same time, the area of South Fagan Ave near its intersection with State Street is and has for a long time been of commercial character. And therefore, being that A, the current site plan mitigates some of the impact to the residential neighborhood character through landscape buffering and designated location for vehicle offloading on site, and B, this proposal is made possible by the mutual agreement of the existing residential owners of 17, 25, and 33 South Fagan Ave who desire to sell their homes to Matthews Auto.
Sorry, I didn't catch that.
Yeah.
We should strike B because they're all owned by Matthews. So
Yeah.
we found out. Yeah.
Okay.
And I think this last point is referring to the mapping that you had requested, Chairman DiArpino, right, of the penetration
Right.
of the extension rather of the commercial zone into the residential zones, right? So maybe we can give a reference to the map. I know it's a little bit
Oh, yeah. For
out of discord with the other findings, but
preservation of
Mr.
general
Jenkins,
character of the neighborhood.
Such as keep a B, but refer to the study that we had done for the.
no. I think B needs to come out because it's not
Well,
factual.
keep
It's not
a second, not the first, not the B as written, take it off.
Right.
Refer to the study that was done.
Yeah, or just, it's really a reference to A, right?
Mhm.
Just,
Yeah, that's true.
just reference the map on A. That's all I'm saying. There was a lot of good work done there. And, I think we need to keep this view in mind,
Mhm.
given that the previous comment talked about a lack of the comprehensive plan really having a preference one way or the other with this area, right? For me, we're at 2025 comprehensive plan committee right now.
Mhm.
So maybe the 2020 next comprehensive plan committee might use this map as a basis to do something.
I'm in agreement.
Strike B.
So B will be stricken and the insertion of the State Street CN zoning map will be implemented. And so the last item is additional findings. And it simply says the planning board has additional concerns and or heard comments pertaining to the long-term sustainability of the project and the design of the elements or the parking lot as follows. So,
If there's anything that was missed, we can add it in there.
okay.
No, I don't think so. Covered. I think it's all covered in the, based on our prior discussion.
All right. So right now, at the end of the findings, we'll just open it up to each of the board members if there's anything else that they wanted to add or anything else that we think Laura Clark should capture as part of this. All right. Mr. Dickinson, you've heard all of a recap on the findings here. I'm assuming you're going to be okay with the discussion points that we had here?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
All right. All right, so seeing as there's no further discussion, Ms. Bergami, could you please call the roll?
Mr. Laflamme,
Aye.
Ms. Strain,
Aye.
Mr. Khan,
Aye.
Ms. Belowski,
Aye.
Ms. Gomes,
Aye.
Ms. Gold,
Aye.
Chairman DiArpino.
Aye, resolution passes. I wanted to thank your team and everyone else for working with us basically over 2 years here. And I think this is a great example of really listening to concerns that the board has, that the planning department has, other residents and neighbors, and compiling something that can help sustain a good business. So thank you.
I appreciate that.
All right.
Yeah, I mean, the single keyword for me in this whole application process has been on the part of the board and part of the applicant and the community neighborhood. It's really finding a balance in terms of our code, in terms of what a commercial business is entitled to in Escuna, in terms of what residents are entitled to, right? And I think we've reached a very good, very acceptable, and if not positive, balance on those points. Maybe we put those words someplace in the findings if you guys think it's good.
We can put that in the additional findings.
Yeah, if you wanted to put that as like a summary, just talking about, because we do refer to it earlier in the proposal, when the first proposal came in, I would be fine if that was added at the end as a final paragraph. So just as a procedural thing, I believe we'll see the findings formalized.
Mhm.
And then that will be the final package that will go, that's a informal thing that you bring back to the board so that we see them, correct?
I usually email it and then you
Okay.
guys can have comments. And then the written package goes to the town board along with the secret recommendation.
Okay.
Has the date been set for when that town board would receive that recommendation?
Well, you guys needed to have this meeting, but honestly, like we'd have to put it together tomorrow or Wednesday because they have agenda meeting tomorrow, so. Soon.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much, everyone. Have a good night. We'll
All right.
see you soon.
Hey, last item under new business. Oh, sorry. Last item under new business, recommendation to the ZBA for 4240 Consall Road, Mizan Kitchen. A recommendation to the ZBA for a tenant change requiring a use variance. Ms. Strang is the project lead, and do we have a representative from the applicant here?
Yes. And Chairman DiArpino, I will be recusing myself from this topic.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Bill Calhoun will sit in on this one. Okay. How are you?
Good. How are you guys?
Good, good. So since the last meeting, we have a proposal here to make a recommendation to the ZBA. I know that there was some additional information that was part of the package. So if you and Ms. Strang want to go through what the updates are, update the board.
Yeah. So we added a site plan with the dimensions as much as we can. We're not planning to do any changes to the exterior except adding potentially 3 parking spots if we can on the right-hand side right there. Yes. So that'll help potentially the traffic and the flow. I'll assign those to my future employees at the time, and all of our deliveries and everything will be on that side. So other than that, we do want to spruce it up a bit with the garden bed over time, plant something, change the exterior paint. But other than that, we really don't plan on changing anything exterior. So we would like to, I know it was a concern also, think of some kind of solution, adding a barrier. We're not going to do sidewalks. However, some kind of barrier from the street to the parking lot, because if you actually look on Google Map, it actually shows a pass-through route through that area. So I want to ensure we have some kind of blockage there on both sides. So we're coming up with some kind of ideas. I'm sure at the next meeting we'll bring that to you guys. So.
So the renderings were helpful
Yes,
on
thank
this, some of the outside ones too as well. And
And I just had one question. I assume but don't know that the restrictions that Stewart's has placed on the property are legal.
The deed restriction.
So deed restrictions are legal. It's a subject of negotiation. In the future, that there's an issue about potentially enforceability, but that's really a civil matter or a private matter between the current owner and the grantor or Stewart's successor in interest.
But that does hobble the use of the property.
Yeah, so this is a situation that's actually what's potentially good for Stewart is not necessarily good for the town. Because, you know, once,
That's my point, yes. It's kind of like they're opposing their own zoning.
correct.
It would be really neat, excuse me, if you could do something green as a barrier. I know that might be a stretch because it's all so pavement there, but
Might, but Laura gave me a suggestion to talk to the Broken Inn, the owner there, and how they was a little creative with some ideas.
Mhm.
So maybe we could find something to add to spruce up that corner.
Yes.
So I understand that that's needed. I'm hoping changing the brown brick, which my husband opposes that. I want to change a brighter, whiter, like a lighter color there. So
Okay, so with our recommendations to the ZBA, we asked 3 questions.
Sure.
And we'll begin with those, and Ms. Strang will lead this. So the first question is the effect on the comprehensive plan.
there is no effect.
So then we discussed these items. So I would agree with that. I think that, there was a commercial property that was there in this zone before, operated pretty successfully. It is in an interesting area that does have a good amount of traffic. So I think, a continuation of a commercial property at this place will be beneficial.
And while in one way this is a somewhat more intensive use, I think traffic wise, it's apt to be less.
Okay, good. So all in favor of the effect on the comprehensive plan having no effect, state by saying aye.
Aye.
Are any opposed? Okay. Next up is suitability of use.
It was determined that the project is suitable for the use of that area. You know, as we know, it was a Stewart's prior, and prior to that, another convenience store. So, and while a single family house could be put on the property, we're determining that it is suitable for the use.
Okay. All in favor of suitability of use, state by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. And finally, the recommendation.
Based on the foregoing items, the planning board is recommending that this matter be referred to the zoning board of appeals.
And all in favor of the recommendation to the zoning board of appeals as stated, state by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. So best of luck at the ZBA.
Thank you.
Hopefully
And
see
then
you.
so after Wednesday, we see what happens and then discuss with Laura what's next steps.
Yeah, you
Hopefully.
come back here for site plan again.
Okay,
Yeah.
perfect. All right. Thank you all.
All right,
Have a good
thank
night.
you. Okay, that finishes up new business. So we'll move on to discussion items. First up is 2690 Balltown Road, GE Vernova, a site plan application to reconfigure the visitors parking lot of the new DAC building. Welcome back, Mr. Savoy.
Thanks for having me, Matt Savoy, GE Vernova Advanced Research. All right, so what we wanted to talk about this evening was the parking lot in front of the building that's currently under construction. Just for some context, you can flip, Laura.
There it goes. Okay.
Awesome. So this just shows, to start with, kind of a render. So when the original building was designed, the architect CT Mail had basically repurposed a circle and repurposed the idea, not the physical asset, right? Because it's actually moved slightly, but they repurposed the idea. After that, we, as you're aware, secured resources from Fuss and O'Neill Landscaping Architecture. They designed the gorgeous patio you guys saw. And while they were in the process of that, they said, hey, would we be able to reimagine this parking lot? I said, well, not until you deliver on that's the first thing you owed me. So focus there. And then I said, listen, I'm willing for you guys to show us some imagery and to talk about it. They showed a few images, we met in the planning office just informally to get some general sense of feedback, if this was something that, we thought the town might appreciate, or just again, feedback. General sense has been positive. So we went ahead and secured their services for the balance of the engineering and design. And that's what we wanted to kind of show you here this evening. Again, kind of overall property location, you guys are fairly familiar, but fairly tucked back into that site. So this kind of shows you the before and the after. On the left, again, you see the circle there in front of the new building. It was really just grass. There wasn't anything there. It wasn't terribly appealing. And again, as you saw the renderings of that patio, that's fairly elevated from both a landscape and a cost perspective. On the right, you'll see kind of the new configuration. And then the next page actually has some additional renderings. And if there's any other questions, we have a whole render package. What you kind of see there is in front of the building, which is the visitor center there with the storefront glass. It's kind of like think of like a college plaza, right? Large concrete, huge planter beds. You see the low plantings. This goes along with the landscape of the property, which has trees, but lots of kind of rolling hills and meadow-like plantings. So kind of reflected that here in this plaza area. There's some built-in seating. The foliage does change based on seasons. We've rendered all the different seasons. So you actually get kind of 3 very distinct looks throughout the year, which is kind of cool. And then you'll see the parking lot in the front. That's that bottom right picture. At the top of the parking lot, and then you can see it as well in the bottom left. You also see actually a drop-off lane there, which can also be used for emergency services. So I actually think we added a pretty nice, again, combination drop-off lane, food truck potential, and again, emergency services, fire department connections in the lower left-hand connection to that building. So actually, spatially, I think that works out nicely for us. It also adds this walkway in front of the building. So again, as people kind of get out of their cars, you already presented, there's that gorgeous curtain wall. So you kind of see that curtain wall. You open up to that plaza and then boom, there's that visitor center. So we felt like it was definitely way more impactful visual. As you probably noticed, substantially more landscaping of both trees and lower landscaping versus the original area. You can see the different renders with the seasons. So we felt like this was appealing, in line with the design, the feel, the look and feel of the campus. So again, we went ahead and secured services to go ahead and further push this design. The one piece I did expect, get a question on, so I'll just proactively, address it from the SWIP perspective. F&O did complete a full SWIP package. It'll go for a TDE review. In reality, it's just a minor increase to both the bioretention and the detention basins, or the biofiltration and the detention basin, excuse me. Those were all existing on this current project. It would be just extending those slightly to accommodate the slight additional impervious soil. Again, we try to, where possible, create impervious or pervious soil as well with some of the lower plantings. And there you see the integration into that external experience entertainment patio area. The lighting is all carried over again from that external experience. So you've seen that package, and that has been submitted to the town as well for review and comment. But again, kind of the same designer carried the same design features through.
All right, thank you. Well, Ms. Belowski was the project lead on the last one. So for some continuity, she's volunteered to continue as project lead on this one.
Thank you.
First off, I'll say I looked at the package this weekend, and I think it's a market improvement from what was there. One of the things that struck me right away is that, looking back at the old project, you put so much investment into this outdoor patio, this entertainment space, this informal gathering area. And the best thing you did with this was you moved the parking away. And everybody knows that in front of that building, there were going to be trucks beeping, dropping off, and nothing is more irritating than somebody starting a vehicle or backing up or trying to get around something when that's there. I just see it as a merit. I think that if emergency vehicles had to get close to the building, I don't know if that concrete sidewalk would support that, but again, there's ways and means to get that, and you've got the full access around the backside of the building as well. So the initial review from what I saw, I think it really is interesting.
Yeah, I mean, I think I don't know if it's in the packet or you said it, Matt, but it does create more of a campus feel, and it really improves connectivity, because when you come in and drive through that huge building, it feels like, wait, like where is it? What is its sense of place? And so I think that the new design does a much better job of sort of making it sort of a long
Yeah.
campus that's interconnected. I agree.
I'm curious, what is the lower vegetation? This grain like,
I could certainly get you absolute cut sheets on every one of them. I don't have them. But again, it
couldn't
does
figure
follow
out.
everything else we've done, which I know you guys saw the planting for the patio as well.
My only concern is whether it's something that's going to be exceeding the immediate neighborhood as well, even though this is far from the road.
I'd be very impressed if I could see the neighbor.
Well, some depends on the vegetation in question.
Yeah.
Some plants can.
We've been working with the tree council and we've been using natives. So like my guess on this is it's like little blue stem and like, black-eyed Susans and things like that. Salvias, because there's some purple in there. Goldenrods, things that we have that grow in our world.
I like natural perennials. They're lovely.
Yeah, the intention is no maintenance if we can.
I just keep in mind, was it loose strife that took over?
I'm surprised that
It's pretty though.
landscape packages include burning bush, which is invasive.
Yeah, if they did at the beginning, they've taken it out. Yeah, the tree council has worked and reviewed both of these plans and actually got a sneak peek on this. I think there's more trees being planted and they would look at a final thing to make sure there's no invasives. This is the one where they added a lot of the swamp milkweed to the wetlands and things like that. Yeah. Edges. They did say that they don't recommend planting the giant trees because they have a lot more like trauma when they get moved. So if you start with smaller ones, they tend to be the same size as the bigger ones later.
Mhm.
They did ask me to say that.
One of those renderings also had the proposed locations of the flagpoles. I thought those had some merit to them as well. Yeah, right there.
There you go.
Mhm.
Yep. So we were looking for a spot, put flagpoles.
Mhm.
That felt like an appropriate spot, kind of at the corner. You see it from the roadway. The way I've done them in the past, I do think this would change based on potentially, who's on the property, but county, state, federal.
Mhm.
There's a possibility, again, depending on who's there, you might take more of the local flag down and fly a company flag, or depending who's coming there. But that would be the intention. That's why you'd see three flagpoles of either county or state, and that's county, state, and then federal.
You ever fly the flag of the place that's visiting? Like if they're coming from France, you could fly the French flag? Yeah.
So those would be all opportunities.
Okay. Any other thoughts or comments? Mhm.
Is the rear acceptable, or we're not sure if the distances would support that? Why couldn't they widen that concrete front to go straight? Are we satisfied with that?
So I think that at some point, the emergency services will review this, whether there's a standpipe that they can, hook to ultimately or something. If that section of the building was on fire, they're running over landscaping and, I mean, those trucks will get to where they need to be if need be. You can get to the backside of the building pretty well. So I know that the taller trucks and the throws that they have, at least for those areas, would be able to service everything because the height of that building, especially the DAC building, has to be serviced by fire apparatus. I don't know if we necessarily should encourage that, but maybe just keep that in mind that if it does come up, that if that final modification does have to be changed a little bit, that may just be a contributing factor to it.
Yeah. So, and just for informal context, we did have an opportunity to show the renders to Chief Fina.
Mhm.
Again, I say opportunity. He happened to show up after we had an informal meeting with the town. So took that opportunity to show him the renders. The feedback was positive. No additional. I did ask if they had any additional feedback. We didn't receive any. Again, there will be a hydrant in that corner as well as your fire department connection.
Mhm.
And then, God forbid something is happening, yes, please drive over my landscaping, get people out, and then worry about property.
Well, looked like there was some raised concrete or stonework around those beds. So that's why I was thinking couldn't just run over them.
The curb, it's all mountable.
It
I
is.
mean, in an emergency, yeah.
Yeah, okay. No, I'm not talking about the curb. I'm talking
The
about
planters.
The
The planter beds.
planters seemed like they were stone in different heights,
There's an edger on it.
an edger, yeah.
Yep, so it's no different than a curb.
Oh, I see. Okay,
Yeah.
gotcha.
So I'm saying all of that's mountable if they had to.
I see. I follow you.
Yeah, they're all pretty low planters.
Great.
Okay,
Okay, well, thank you.
thank you.
Board's
So would
unanimous.
you guys like us to bring that back for final site plan resolution? Or you want- We'll run it past the TDE.
Mhm.
We didn't identify any concerns with it.
Yeah, why don't we, so we've got, our next meeting is the 28th.
Mhm.
That may be enough time in order to take a look at it for a few days for the TD. Maybe they can get back. We could have a tentative resolution for the 28th. People
Yeah.
comfortable with that? Okay. All right.
Okay.
We'll do our best to do that.
Thank you very much. Have a good evening.
Okay, thank you. Okay, next up is 1748 Union Street, Broadview Credit Union, a site plan application for use requiring use variance and external improvements. Just to bring the board up to speed, Mr. Hirschberg did want to talk quickly about the project tonight. It will not be a full discussion item.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Actually, Broadview said they prefer not to advance the project at all through tonight since they're considering it at a higher level than I can ever get to. And they're trying to find out the method to make this most palatable to the board, the planning board and the zoning board of appeals. The one situation is setting a precedent for a parking lot, standalone parking lot in the area, even though there's, it's separated by the city and town line, and that's the reason why we're here at all. Otherwise, we'd have a project which met both in city of Schenectady and town of Niskayuna, we'd have a project over on a single site, but we're not. So I don't have anything more to answer tonight, but again, I'd just like to tell you, we're working on trying to find methods of making it more acceptable.
All right, we appreciate the update.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, next up is 437 Balltown Road, Blooming Nail Salon, a site plan application for a tenant change. We have a representative from the applicant here.
Hi.
Hi.
Hi,
Go ahead and state your name.
it's Christina, and I am the manager, and he is the boss.
Okay.
I am just helping him doing all the work, translating and speak out, clarify everything.
Okay, great. Could you tell us a little bit about the project and where it's located?
Yeah, the project is about we are going to open a new nail salon, and I think right now we have get all the interior design sheets and the business signs. We have get it all done. It's all written. I'm not sure if you guys need to see the floor plans.
Oh, not right now. What we're going to do is we're just going to talk about
Okay.
that information can be submitted to the planning department and then it'll be incorporated into the. So the current area, I believe, is the Sweet Frog.
Yeah.
Lower Sweet Frog area.
Yeah.
And let's see, where is it here? So it looks like you're going to have a renovation of the interior space, correct? Okay. And possibly looks like 10 patrons for manicures, pedicures, another 8, and then waxing. So somewhere's around just under 20
Yeah.
20 people that are there. And employees between 6 to 10, depending on how the
think
business
we're
grows.
Beginning 6 people, and at the end we have more client. We will add a couple more. And for our days of operations, I think for Monday to Saturday we will have 10 hours for open. We will open from 10 a.m. to 8 p.m.
Okay.
And that Sunday we will open from 10 to 6.
Okay. All right. So one of the things that would be helpful is just to see a site plan of what the building looks like and what the proposed layout is. And then anything that you plan on doing to the outside would be something else we'd want to see too. So if there was any, changing of the outside, specifically if you wanted to include signage in this application, planning department would want to take a look at that.
I don't think so. We will have anything to do with changing on the outside, but we will have two business signs, one in the front and one in the side.
Chairman, I don't know if there was a break when I was uploading this. I did get an error, but they did give us a site plan and I just noticed that it wasn't in the packet.
Yeah, it's not in this package. It was in the draft.
It was in the draft
It was in the
packet,
draft
wasn't
packet,
it? Yeah, because I actually
was.
brought it to the CAC and then I was like clicking madly and I couldn't find it.
Yeah, I was.
But yeah,
Okay.
they do have the inside,
Yeah.
they do have the sign and they do have the site plan.
Okay, I think this is the front. Another one, it's on the right side.
Okay.
Business sign.
So I was not sure if this was being changed.
I did get some
Okay.
errors. I had to upload packet by packet and so somehow it was in the draft packet, but not the final.
Great. So we can start with this then.
Okay.
So the main entrance being on the right-hand side, correct?
Mhm.
Okay. And then the signage above centered on the doorway, looks like it's relatively in compliance with the strips of signs that are on the rest of the buildings that were there. It's a corner building, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah. And, okay,
Oh, no, that's the only one.
right, okay. Okay. Is that sign intended to be illuminated? Or will it just have the lamps that are above it? Like the lights that come down over the top? Okay. All right. Any other questions for the applicant?
And Laura, do we have dimensions indicating that the signage is compliant?
They are using a separate sign contractor for
Okay.
the sign, are you not?
So we'll have to review signs.
Yeah, so you could either have the sign contractor give us the drawings for our next meeting, or you could do a tenant change and then the sign contractor could bring the signs back to us at a different meeting.
Okay.
And given the nature of the business change, there's no impact there's existing parking sufficient. They don't have to deal with any parking issues, correct? There's not sufficient spaces, I guess, is my question.
Correct. That shopping center is calculated for retail or for retail service. Actually, our parking requirements for them, those two things are the same, although the Sweet Frog was probably more like a restaurant, which has
Restaurant.
more demand of parking.
Sure.
Yeah.
All right. So I think that since this is relatively straightforward, we could definitely go with a resolution for the tenant change. And if you want to do the signage package with that, you can contact the planning department. They'll give you the deadline for that. A lot of applicants do their signage separately. So you can also bring that. And if it doesn't get to the last July meeting that we have, we could take a look at it in August. All right. Okay. Thank you for your time. Next up is 2600 Rosendale Road, an application for a lot line adjustment. This is a new project. Interesting project. Do we have anybody here representing the applicant? Anyone online, Laura?
Nope, actually.
Okay.
No one online.
No.
Okay.
Mr. Levy is Mr. Levy from the landlord at Mansion Square, right?
I don't think so. What I've actually been talking to the attorney. This property has been was owned and occupied by a lady who loved the Leishkill Nature Preserve. And when she died, she wanted the remainder of her property to be deeded to Leishkill so that it would be preserved forever. She did unfortunately pass away, and so her estate is now working on her wishes. And yeah, so it takes about 5 acres of that parcel and would combine it into the Leishkill Nature
Right.
Preserve.
Can you bring up the colored map?
Mhm.
So if you zoom in on that, you can see where there's the Nature Conservancy. What it does is it actually brings the lot line across and extends that over and connects it over to the larger parcel that's down below.
So then actually the only parcel that kind of dips into the
Mhm.
Leishkill at that point is the one that actually accesses off of Agostino.
And this was originally her family farm.
Was it? Yeah.
Yeah, she was my classmate.
Okay, yeah. Apparently she loves the Leishkill.
And she never wanted the land divided up for a bunch of little houses.
She did not want it subdivided, correct?
She told me that when I met her in 6th grade.
And there's a representative of the Nature Conservancy that knows about this and is.
Yeah, we have a regular person that we talk to with the Nature Conservancy. It's not him.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Okay.
they're aware. They will take the land on and we will have more representation
So the application
by the estate, yes. They're trying to fulfill the will.
Yeah. I think there was a statement to that effect in the packet.
Probably, the attorneys probably wrote it.
Yeah, I guess the one detailed question I'm getting at is, does the acceptance of the land by the Nature Conservancy, is that a requirement for us to take into
Yeah.
consideration in granting a lot line?
So ultimately, what would happen is at the end, the property is deeded from, in this case, the estate to the Nature Conservancy.
Right.
The deed itself doesn't have to get signed by the Nature Conservancy, but the other forms that get filed at the county clerk do.
Okay.
So they would be in the loop.
They are in the loop. I can have a statement for them or something.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen it before with other lot
Yeah,
line
yeah.
adjustments.
No,
but
I can
usually,
get something from
usually
them.
both parties,
Have
make,
something,
yeah.
yeah.
make-
You're not just gifted something that they.
Yeah, right. I mean,
Hey,
it's like,
look at this.
hey, wait a second. I want this.
Okay, great.
So pending that statement, do we want to bring that one back too? Yeah.
I can do it.
Resolution next meeting?
I would
good.
think so. It's pretty straightforward. It sounds like all parties are privy to this and they're on board.
And very much her wishes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and the map is, like, I put the letter in there. It's in pretty good shape. It doesn't need too much change. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Like I said, all of my comments can be summarized, but we just need positive affirmation from the Nature
Nature
Conservancy
Conservancy, no, you're
that we are accepting this
Yeah.
and will be part of the Nature Conservancy, et cetera.
Yeah, we'll add that next.
Okay, great. So we'll call for a resolution for the July 28th. Great.
And that's an awesome usage of
Yeah, I wish we would see more of that.
a legacy.
All right, next up is 3406 Albany Street, a site plan application requiring a special use permit for the operation of a religious education facility at a single-family home.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. With me today is the applicant, who I'm just meeting for the first time. We did the survey map, which made part of the application. The applicant filled out the application, so I don't know who would be best to make the presentation, but I can tell you that it's a religious organization. And your code, like many codes, allows religious organizations in many zones of the city. And in your case, it requires a special use permit. But as you well know, that religious organizations are given a lot of latitude regarding the areas where they locate, but they're just subjected to the town standards regarding site plan, special use permits, et cetera. I don't know. I don't think, I'll let the applicant tell me whether or not they plan to make any changes to the outside of the building, because all we have is our survey map.
Okay.
Yes, my name is Mule. I'm representing this religious organization because our center is just a community participations, and we just do, meditations for mental health. So it is just something like small 3 to 5 family gatherings every Sunday. So it is mostly summer, not the whole year round. And only our meditations guidance master Buddhist man is only one person residing in this location and nobody there. And also our meditation practice is silence treatment. So it is very simple one. We keep silencing in this meditation treatment, and then always there's practice is mostly our months having lunch is lunch hour times around about 12 to 2. So there's no others, so nighttime or anything happening. So these activities are mostly very quiet, 100%. So we keep doing this. Just this week, we have the pictures, mostly 3 to 4 families. This is maximum camp, just Sunday, not the whole week, not the whole year. And also for this, sometime in case of Wesak Day, maybe Wesak Day is our Buddhist celebrations once a year. Wesak Day like events, there will be around about 3 maximum or 3 to 4 events the whole year, for the whole year. For this, it may be in case of there's more traffic, more family member, there's a neighborhood, there's a gun ammunition shop. We have the recommendation letter from this. There's a very big parking lot. They offer us so that we can use this because this shop is Sunday and Monday. Every week it is closed. So they offer this parking lot for Sunday and Monday. And in case of any large event, we will use only Sunday and Monday so that there will be no parking issue, something like that. So our event is very simple, and then we are not using any neighborhood interference or any noise issue or something like that. So I write it down, this plan, in the applications, in case if you have questions.
I have a question.
Yes.
Who's the applicant? Who owns the property?
Our organizations, this Buddhist Center, Mahabodhi Center, our communities. And personal owner is our monk. Name is written, and then I represent him.
Okay, so there's a legal issue that I don't know the answer to yet, which is that if you're claiming to have a religious education facility, but it's not named or owned by the organization which has the exempt organization, I don't know the interaction of those two things. So I'm not commenting on whether or not you're actually doing religious activities there, but I don't know if you own it individually. So there may be another step here, which is it may have to be deeded to the religious organization.
Oh, owner is only one.
Yes, please introduce yourself and say who you are.
My name is Ninh Wei Lue Miu, Dr. Ninh Wei Lue Miu, and I'm representing also this the organization. So the monk, our venerable monk, bought the house, this family, single family house, and he is the president of the this 501c3 religious organization.
Okay. Yeah.
But the building is not owned by organization. So the personal owned and the monk is the chairperson or president. So we usually use this house, single family house, for the community purpose, the religious community purpose. So
Is the owner going to continue to live there as his residence?
Yes, yes.
This is the only resident still residing in this building.
Okay, so I'm glad you're here as a discussion item because there's some work I need to do on my end to determine the legal issue of can you get a special use permit to be a religious facility if it's owned in an individual name by someone
Yeah.
who's living there as a resident. So that's something that I can work with and report back to this board, but I'll still invite the board to ask questions about the actual use. So we can do two things at once.
So can I ask some questions regarding with the applications? The Buddhist monk didn't do anything officially, but Laura met with him. He is worried about and also anxious about working with the peoples and some things, the office work. So that's why he asked us to help him. That's why we are here. So is there anything if he has to be present and we can ask?
Yeah,
I think as long as he has a representative.
You can be here as a representative. That's not the issue that I'm raising. My concern is about the actual record owner, the person on the deed, and whether we can give a special use permit for a religious educational facility to a person, not a 501c3 organization.
Yeah, the owner name is Long Fan. That's actually the
Okay.
title is in her name as an individual.
Okay.
So also, may I add, this mountain is also the one of the board member of this organization.
Okay, so the owner of the deed of the property is a member of the board of the organization.
Yes.
Okay, but you still have, I think, the question.
Yeah, correct.
Yeah.
So there's two different things going on, right? One is legally, can you do it? And then separately, I think there's an issue of does it qualify as a religious educational facility? And then as Mr. Hertzberg pointed out, then they get a lot wide latitude on that because it's a First Amendment issue.
Yep,
There's an intersect between
Yeah,
First
yeah.
Amendment and zoning.
Yeah, I mean, from a planning perspective, I'm confident a lot of the legal issues will get answered and become clear. And regardless of how that proceeds, if this is to be a religious educational facility, you touched on the number one issue, I think, for us, which is going to be the parking.
Yes.
And, everything else ancillary to that.
Yeah, I just wanted to verify on that because on page 161 of our packet, it says the second bullet, most events take 2 to 4 hours with 3 to 15 families, but I feel like you said 3 to 5 most of the time, and only a few times a year is it large. So is that a typo, or because 5 families versus 15 is a big difference?
This is a big events. What I mentioned, 15 family
Yes.
member is big events.
But weekly, it's 3 to 5?
Weekly is mostly 3 to 5.
I think that's a typo.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
That's what I want.
Would it be necessary, just conjecturing whether or not it would be necessary, some sort of lease or agreement made between the owner and a religious organization to qualify them to be the applicant here? We're talking technicalities here, and I have no idea.
Yeah.
Not a lawyer, and I
I
don't
feel
claim to
like there's-
practice law here.
So-
But again, I think it sounds to me like to claim the religious use of the building, we would have to have some relationship between the owner person and an organization.
I feel like there's a way to close the gap. Let me find the legal issue first, get an
Okay.
answer to that, and then we can see what the options are.
Okay, thank you.
And I have a concern regarding the parking arrangement. Would we at the minimum need a copy of an agreement or something?
Yeah,
If
sure.
we're gonna use other
Yes.
properties?
And that's with, you said it was Upstate Gun and Ammo?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So they're right across the street, but, so we need to review his parking. Right?
So 10 to 15 cars parking lot within our backyard, not the side yard. And also I took pictures in here. I can send it to you after that. So there's a 2 entrance gate. One is on the Albany Street, and then the other one is in the Gasna Avenue. So we can arrange like this in and out in that both the area. So the parkings and the traffic will not disturb us the neighborhood.
Are you currently using
Yes.
the home
Yes.
for events now?
Yes.
Okay.
So yeah, we do encourage shared parking with cross parking agreements and the hours of operation
Yeah.
do not overlap.
I guess on a side note, so Mr. Serafini's been here before as an applicant for his property on several items. I'm just wondering what his current long-term outlook is on that property, because he was kind of in a flux between what he thought he could or could not do with certain legislation that may be pending.
He removed the pod.
Right, I know the pod's
Yeah.
gone, but again, is he still gonna operate as a dual use? Is the ammunition and gun shop gonna be viable? You know, there were a lot of questions a couple years ago when he was here. So, I mean, wonder if it's worth reaching out to him just to talk about that. If they've got a signed lease agreement, that definitely a step in the right direction.
So how many cars can fit? So I'm actually looking at a Google's photo. So how many cars can fit on the side parking, which belongs to the property?
We don't have striped, we didn't figure it out yet. It's an unstriped area right now.
Right.
So it looks to me like it's probably 5 and 5, 5 on each side and backing into the center. Looks to me like probably 10 cars, but I don't want to vouch on that until
Yeah.
we buy a layout of it. But it's-
Yeah, I mean, so Mr. Hirschberg, you know, right, something that's rational and something that's reasonable relative to the parking.
Yeah.
Right, I see the back entrance and the way the property is delineated in the map that's being shown. I'm just thinking long and hard about the next word I'm gonna say. Right now, that's green space. Having that be used as parking,
We could bank it.
right? Thank you, Laura, right? I mean, that was a thought in my head about banking, but at the end of the day, though, it does need to be usable,
Correct.
right?
Mhm.
So whether that's usable parking based on the agreement with Upstate Guns and Ammo and the side entrance that's already, blacktopped, right? Cement, non-green. We'll have to figure that out, but based on, again, the number of families and the
It
usage.
sounds to me like with 3 to 5, there's no problem. When they get to 15, then it becomes a question about where the people are.
Right.
Other than that, they're regular 3 to 5 families, 3 to 5 units would not be a big problem here.
Aren't there barricades up?
Yep,
On
he's got barricades on that side.
the back side of the MO.
So
Was there any discussion about the barricades being removed to accommodate the overflow parking at the adjacent business that would let you use their parking?
So
Yeah, across the street.
Agree with the shop and we got the signed agreement and also already submitted with the application. So most of our events are only on Sunday. So the Sunday where they don't have no opening hour, we can use the whole parking lot. And we only thing is that we park the car in the parking lot and
walk.
the walk.
Can you,
It's
can
the opposite, just
yeah, can you confirm, do you access a parking lot for the gun and ammo shop by way of State Street or Albany Street?
Yeah, I think it's State Street.
Okay, so those barricades were, if I recall, required. in one of our
Yeah,
approvals.
I don't think that they'll be accessing from Albany Street.
Okay, gotcha. I just
The
wanna
cars will enter from State Street, folks will walk across the street. Which is another thing that we need to consider in traffic safety, et cetera, pedestrian safety. I mean, I think it's workable, but we need to just get to the details, provided we have the legal.
All right, so this project will definitely need a project lead. So if anyone is interested, please reach out to myself in the planning department.
And Dan, you think you could sketch on parking spaces there and see how many you think you
Well,
could
we can
fit?
take a look at it and make a presentation that shows the parking with relationship to the building, so you can see where it is and how it gets there. And then the legalities of how they tie that parking into their approval is another issue with that. That requires greater minds than mine.
Sounds great, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you. I think it's good work.
All right.
Okay.
Thank you for your time this evening.
Okay.
Okay, last item under discussion items is a zoning code amendment. This is to allow child daycare centers in an independent building as a special principal use in the R1 low-density residential zoning district. So included in your packet was a brief summary of this proposal, along with a chart that includes where it can be used as a special principal use or a permitted use. I turn that over to you or Clark?
Clark, can you see if we can hear you now? Nope, we still can't hear you. That's super weird. Okay.
He isn't
Well,
muted, is he?
no, he's not. I know. Isn't that weird?
Wild.
I mean, the one thing I could, well, Clark, just type me things if I'm missing something. I'll keep my chat open. We'll troubleshoot that later. But yeah, so Clark put this together. He did a really good job on the packet this month. What he did was he figured out in each zoning where child daycares are and what like their kind of like just visually like, okay, so child daycare within school, hospital, or place of worship, child in a mixed use building with shared parking, child daycare in independent buildings, which is what we're talking about as a potential amendment. And then we also have a funny thing in some of our places where you can have large employees that you can have child daycare centers for those employees in those big buildings. So he broke the zoning codes out so you could kind of look and see where that falls. Right now, child care centers in independent buildings are called out in the neighborhood commercial and the residential professional. We did also consider them in the neighborhood mixed use, which we don't actually have any on the ground, but we were considering it for there, and then for the office technology light industrial. We typically, in the residential zones, we see the daycares in the churches. So we have a number, and synagogues, we have a number of daycares that are mixed in with religious buildings, and that's a very good compatible use. But I mean, I think what we're running into is that if you name a church, it most likely has a daycare in it already, and that there's a shortage of daycare in the town. And so we know of a couple people that would be very interested in building daycares. One of the places that we were looking at is on River Road, the 2 lots for Kelt's Farm that were scheduled for single-family residential homes. They may not be particularly easy to sell as single-family residential homes, but could be a really good place for a standalone daycare. But obviously, you have to look at the whole zoning district and make sure that all is well. So that's that picture together.
Yeah, so Laura, one of my understandings is just the layout of the table, and thank you and Clark for putting it together. And based on what you just said and what we had talked about before when this topic first came up, to sort of summarily say it, for R1, R2, and R3, we'd like to get other columns filled out,
Yeah.
especially the last column. Is that a desired end state?
I think the big thing is the independent building.
Or the second to last column?
Yeah, because there's not a lot of, it's the second to last one. The big buildings, like you're talking like GE having a daycare center, like, but they could.
So okay, second, so we'd like to get, an outcome of this would be if R1, R2, R3 second to last column, independent buildings.
Yeah, and one thing that's not in here, which we talked about, is adult daycares are allowed in an independent building.
Mhm.
But the child daycares were restricted to the existing religious buildings.
Rosendale, there's also a residential facility as well for.
So, and you know, it is, so they are sprinkled around. Rosendale and River, I think both have adult care facilities, but a lot of those are actually licensed through the state and they're exempt from our zoning, right? So if they have they meet a certain criteria, sometimes like the people that take care of them actually stay overnight and live with them. So they're considered like, we treat them by zoning as single family homes, even though it's a group of unrelated people. That's how they're regulated by the state. Daycare buildings in residential homes, you can also live in your house and have up to like 5 kids, in some situations, sometimes even 10 kids licensed through the state. And that does work okay, but
Sometimes.
but you do run into parking things and it's not really planned as a daycare, and they can be very busy. So another benefit to having the standalone buildings is that they are required to have site plan review. So
Laura, can I ask, has the chart is very helpful. Have we looked, or do you know, based on this, is this common in other residential communities, or is Niskayuna like behind the times in terms of
yeah,
zoning?
we should look at that. That isn't something we tracked. We were just looking in our code. Do you want us to look at the surrounding? Yeah,
I'm curious. I mean, demand has clearly grown, and I just
a lot.
wonder if we are not keeping up with.
So I'll look, because I think
Okay.
that'd be good to see what the surrounding codes say. But according to some organization, I'm not 100% sure which one, Niskayuna is actually a daycare desert. Like, you know how they have food deserts? There's a organization that keeps track of daycare, and we're very low per capita, and which of course drives up the cost, and it makes it difficult for families to balance things.
Yeah, that's what I was asking.
Yeah.
That's what I'm curious about.
One of the things with Niskayuna is we always had a good portion of state workers, and the state does have daycares.
Yeah, so they bring them down.
And it's much more convenient to have your child at a daycare that's close to where you work.
And I don't know, the dynamics of that may be changing, because I know that the state buildings, a lot of them went fully virtual for quite a while, and then they only went like sort of half. So, I mean, what the demands are or how that situation still works, I'm not 100% sure. I do know that the town gets regular requests for more daycare. We do actually get applicants who would like to set up daycares here, but
Out of their home, or
well, no, I mean, sometimes out of their home, but right now you would need a use variance on a vacant piece of land. And no, thank you. I mean, even if we really want daycare, it's a terrible precedent to take a vacant piece of land and give it a use variance. Like that should never happen.
Laura, I know I could look and find out, but you can answer it more clearly. KinderCare is in the town center overlay, or are they in?
So KinderCare is in the town center overlay, but is also zoned neighborhood.
Neighborhood.
Yeah, it's zoned CN. Yep.
Okay.
And they are a good example of a standalone daycare building, although they're big. They're
Yeah. No, I mean, I'm just meant. So, but they're governed by commercial neighborhood,
yeah, they're
not town center overlay.
maybe one of our only standalone daycare.
But isn't there one further, the one opposite CVS as well, Montessori schools?
That is, I mean, it
But that's-
is in the CN zone, but that is not a standalone daycare. It's got a mixture of things in there. Yeah, that's the old town hall. Yeah.
so that's a second.
There's a couple of things. There's a Montessori school. Schools are allowed to be in standalone buildings too, actually. It's just daycares.
So then I have a lot of daycares, and actually the state is moving away from the term daycare to early education. So if they had some aspect of social emotional learning, then the state deems them early education, not daycare. So could they use that?
So potentially they could, but actually one of the huge gaps in daycare is 0 to 2. There's almost nowhere that will take the 0 to 2, and it'd be pretty tough to sell to the state that you're doing early education on a 1-year-old.
So daycare would be the only term.
No,
Social emotional learning is now
Learning-
considered birth to 5.
Oh.
Yes.
And one of the other problems with getting spots for kids under 2 is that the staffing ratios are very high,
yeah, they are. Yeah.
and it's hard to get them staffed.
But it's a huge gap that's missing. So, I mean, maybe that's a point too that we could explore. You don't have to change the code, but it does seem like there's a gap and it is causing an issue in our town.
One of my odd assignments over the years, many years ago, I got to help staff up one of the state daycares.
Yeah.
And getting the staff for 0 to 2 was really tough, even then.
So Laura, I'm hearing that there's a belief that if we were to have a zoning criteria, regardless of what it's going to be, a permitted principal use or special, or that would allow on a vacant piece of land in R1, R2, and R3, or maybe someone who wants to take down a home in R1, R2, R3, and build a daycare center.
Yeah. I would say it would always have to be a special use permit because really the only permitted principal uses we have in R1, R2, and R3 are residential.
Right.
Anything beyond that is a special use permit. And I think that's probably what we would always want to stick to. So then when you're coming to a special use permit on a vacant land, that's obviously easier if you're talking about removing a single family home and putting up a standalone building. You know, the reason that it's a special use permit is because you'd be giving it a hard look.
Yeah, and you know, maybe I went a little bit extreme in saying removing a single family home. It could be repurposing a single family home, which takes away a single family home and now converts it to a daycare business. So yeah.
And you know, you definitely want to think through that, but you could theoretically do that already for an adult daycare. So I don't, and I'm not like an expert, but I don't know why you could do it for one range of the age spectrum and not the other.
But isn't it how our code is written?
Yeah, that's how our
Right,
code
so
is
the
written.
code is written for adults,
But not
nothing for daycare.
correct.
So
So
that's the
right now you could have you could come for a special use permit and repurpose a house, I suppose. The thing that is difficult and will actually probably run into it with is that the minimum lot size for a regular single family home is not going to support
traffic.
Yeah, like if you're thinking of, well, no, it just won't be big enough. Like if you're thinking like, you know, the size of a R2 lot, most of the R2 lots are actually non-conforming in Old Niskuna and Country Club Estates, which is the majority of our R2. So you wouldn't be able to go in there and just get a special use permit to repurpose one of those homes. The lots are too small. You'd be looking at probably some of the outlying places which of course are difficult to develop because we just do not have very much land left.
And the adult facilities, are they considered? I'm getting at the transportation thing here. Definitely with children daycare, there's dropping off and picking up.
Yeah, adult daycare is dropping off and picking up. It's not
dropping off and picking
overnight
up,
care homes. It's literally it's adult daycare. So like my mom brought my grandmother to adult daycare when she was at work. So you drop off at 8 and you pick up at 5.
We have both. We have
Yeah, but those ones are the ones that are typically licensed through the state. Because at that point, you've got a nurse usually that's staying. You have people that are staying in the home with them, and they can be for adults that are like special needs, or they can be they're not as much. They're more special needs adult daycare than age related.
So I hate to suggest this as big work, Laura, but would it be possible to add some additional, maybe 1 or 2 additional columns that indicate what the adult daycare status is in these zones?
Yeah, we can do that.
Yeah. And then one simple thing could be, which I think you've, suggested in between the lines, we could just copy and paste, right?
Yeah, right. If the same
Yeah.
kind of requirements.
The adult daycare don't usually require outdoor space.
They should.
But they don't usually.
They usually have larger.
Child daycare, once they're like walking, there's supposed to be outdoor opportunities for them.
I think they should both have opportunities.
Well, usually when they're in adult daycare, they're not
Could
up
be
to a whole lot outside.
Taken out in a wheelchair to enjoy the beautiful fresh air and trees. Yes.
I'm with you, Laura. Yeah, let's, if it's meaningful and the board thinks it's meaningful, like I said, I don't want to make work. But
Yeah, no, yep, we can do that. So we'll do the adult daycare. I will add a column on that, standalone. And then we'll look at the surrounding codes and just see where we are. And if I can find, what organization it is that talks about us being a daycare desert, I'll find that.
So that wraps up discussion items. Moving on to reports.
I don't have anything for tonight.
Right. On to commission business. Open to the floor.
I want to ask, have we gotten any applications for the old Walmart? Have we, any movement in that real estate?
For the old
I think
what?
I've said this to you guys before, but Walmart pays the rent,
Yeah, they look like-
pays the landlord.
Oh, they're just keeping.
Oh,
It's
the
considered
one-
a dark store. So the landlord doesn't have a lot of incentive to replace. That is one of the reasons that we adopted the commercial vacant registration. So that will continue to escalate and hopefully that'll be a thorn in the side to get a new business in there. So
Hampton Square.
yeah, in Mansion Square, yep.
But no discussions, nothing.
No, Lori and I decided it needs to be a Trader Joe's.
yeah, we've talked about that a long time. We should sell.
And that is why
Many
Walmart owns
meatballs.
it and keeps the lease.
Correct. That is why Walmart keeps it as a dark store. Mhm.
Yeah.
It's totally not okay for communities.
Laura, I just want to say thanks to you and Clark Planning Department for putting together this child daycare table.
Yeah,
I know
that's
we've
all
kicked, I know we've kicked it around for a while, but it's good. It was good to actually see that we have, I think, something we can take a step with. Thanks, Clark. I know you're saying you're welcome there, but we'll never know.
Great. Okay, if there's no further commission business, get a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Moved by Ms. Belowski and second by Ms. Gold. All in favor, state by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Meeting is adjourned at 8:59 PM. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, folks.